This week I was very blessed. I got to spend all week with our missions team pretty much. They left Thursday morning, so we saw them Sunday, 8 hours a day just about, until late Wednesday night. When was the last time we got to see them? We did get a couple of pictures. Anyone who knows me knows I'm not the best at remembering to take pictures. I'm very much in the moment, and that's where I'm at. And so to stop and take a photograph doesn't happen very often. We got a couple, though. This is the picture of us. This is pretty much the only posed picture I got, where I was like, yeah, we nailed it. We got a picture of the team. But I will say this, man, I was so encouraged by these young people, and I hope you are too. These are college-age kids. These are kids at USC. They're freshmen, sophomore. There's a couple of juniors and seniors in there. And, man, they were phenomenal. They really were phenomenal. I'm always worried when we bring in teams because you never know what they're, like, really where they're capable at. You're kind of taking everybody's word for it. But, man, I watched these kids go knock on doors and push doorbells. I watched them pray with people all week. I watched them serve. They came and they shared the gospel with, I guess, between the two of them, probably around 600 kids heard the gospel specifically from them. They came in here and dangled from ladders in a precarious way so that we could do some things, not only for us, but to help the school that we're fortunate to serve. They handed out and walked through our prayer line, or the pickup line outside. And I'm not going to lie to you when I tell you this. I talked to probably 10 plus people that day. I wasn't even trying. I was just trying to serve them as they were praying with people. And I was like, man, I don't know how this is going to go. I've never done this. Who knows how this will go? But I watched them over and over again as I'm trying to get to them to make sure they've got enough bags to hand out, that they've got, they've got everything they need. Cars would stop me and tell me how much they appreciated, how much they needed that prayer. I saw multiple women weeping in their car, and I'm sitting there going, I wasn't prepared for this. Like, I never want to get too excited about what could happen. I just like, man, it can definitely happen that way. But I just want to, whatever God decides to do. But man, he moved so mightily in them as they prayed over people who were desperately in need of prayer. People who were just desperately needed to be known for a moment and be reminded how much God loved them. And they got to fill that void for them. We walked somewhere around 6 to 7 neighborhoods throughout the week. I got every bit of my steps this week. I just want y'all to know I was super proud of myself. I crushed it this week. My feet can definitely feel it a little bit. I was definitely tired by the time. Had some late nights and early mornings. And they didn't complain once. In fact, when they left, the thing that they said, like, I wish we could just stay here. I just want to stay here. Keep doing what we're doing. And so it's always interesting to me when I've been on missions and I've been a part of those teams, and when you have people come in and you forget the place you are is a mountaintop for somebody. Like, it's a place where God meets with them in such a real way, in a specific way. And the funny thing is, like, it's kind of like the ocean, right? If you see the ocean enough times, you just forget, like, how glorious it can be, right? But if you live in the mountains, you kind of forget, like, mountains are cool. Everywhere we go, man, like, we get this peek into who God is, and we can see it. And it's all just about your attitude, about how you approach it, and how you ask God to move. One of the things that I really wanted to try to do a really good job of this week was, like, I want to cover these kids in prayer every place and every opportunity I get. So we probably prayed more this week than I probably have in the beginning of the year. Because, I mean, I'm telling you, if we got in a vehicle, we got out of a vehicle, if we stopped at a door, whatever we did, we prayed. And we prayed hard. We wanted to see God do something, and I think we got the opportunity to do that all week. And I share these things with you because I want you to be encouraged that as weird as the world can be, and as strange as it can be, man, God He's raising up another generation of kids who they want something real. Man, they want something real. And that is the funny thing about the world we live in. We can't trust a thing. But we can trust Jesus. We can trust His Word. We can trust His Spirit. And that's where I want to encourage you guys. Like, I hope as we share a little bit today, man, like, not only was I encouraged by them, I was convicted by them as well. Because, man, they were fearless. Like, everywhere they went, they were fearless. And I was like, man, like, I want to be like that all the time. I joked with them, I was like, when I grow up, I want to be like you guys, you know. And so I was very thankful for the opportunity to walk with them, and I want to encourage you, man, like they did a lot of good work. But here's the thing, right? And this is what I told them. This is what I'm going to tell you, and then we're going to circle back to this toward the end. Their main job while they were here, I think the thing that God used them the most was to till up the field. I don't know if any of you are farmers or you grew around farmers. We live mostly in farming area, so you probably see it right now. Well, those tractors are running down the road, eating up both lanes. And they're going out there, and what are they doing? They're dropping the back end of that tractor, right? And they're tilling it up. They're tilling up all, making new rows, getting ready for the season. But here's the thing. If you just till that up and you don't ever put nothing in there, that grass is going to come right back. And in a month or so, you won't even know they did anything. Well, you got to tend to it. That's the charge we've been left with. Those students walked through some hard places. There was a couple times where, we joked, but we did almost get arrested at one point. I do say that jokingly, but the cops were threatened on us. You wouldn't think, but it does happen. But here's the thing. They were willing to walk into those places. They tilled up ground. They began creating a space where seed can be planted. And then now that our charge is we got to go water and we got to put seed out, right? We got to care for it. We got to make sure that weeds don't grow up. We got to go and tend to the work that which God has given to us. That's where we fall in. And so we'll share. I'll continue to encourage you over the next few weeks just what that might look like for us, how we can do that. And it's a great time of year to do that. This is when farmers are getting things ready. And you've had people come in and help you get some things ready. Well, let's pick up where we are today. And so as we sang Hosanna today, I knew that I'd scheduled that song, but I always chuckle when I remember things. Like I'm like, oh yeah, I remember. That was the reason why I did it. We're going to be talking about, the day is our Palm Sunday, if you will. Not literally, but it's what we're talking about. We're going to, as we read through John, because of the timing, John goes months without caring about time, and then all of a sudden he gets really detailed on the last 5-6 chapters of his book. He's just like, every hour is going to be accounted for. And I'm like, man, this is a lot, John. But that's just how he wants to do it. In fact, they actually split John in half where we're at today. The first half of the book is often called the Book of Signs, and the second half is called the Book of Hours, or the Book of Glory, if you look, depending on who you're talking to. It doesn't mean that it's separated. It's just the distinction between the two becomes very evident. John begins to focus on some different things. He really gets into details at this point. And so as we look today, we're going to pick up in John 12. And, coming off of last week, just kind of a quick recap of where we were. Last week, we see Jesus kind of doing the last ultimate miracle that he's going to do, like the big, big miracle, and that was to raise up Lazarus, right? He raises Lazarus from the dead, and that was kind of the straw that broke everybody's back, right? Everybody was either on board or they were against him. They either like, man, this guy's the Messiah, or man, this guy, we got to get rid of him. He's a problem. And we talked about how Jesus shows us an example of, like, what does it look like to walk with Jesus, right? And we walk through some of that. Sometimes we have to wait with Jesus, and then we have to walk instead of wanting to run. We got to walk with them. But the big thing is at the end of it all, we're to worship Jesus. That's it. Like, all of that points to worship. All of the hardship, all of the joy, all the praises, all the miracles, all of it is that we would worship Jesus. And so this is the catalyst that John uses as Jesus is getting ready to enter into Jerusalem today. And as he enters into Jerusalem, some of you may be familiar with, there's a strange occurrence where people are actually cheering. And so we're going to read through this a little bit. I'm going to point out a couple of things that I think are really encouraging. But a lot of today is about just being wrong. So I want you to keep that in mind. Just things are wrong. And they've got it wrong. And I'll be honest with you, it's easy for us to sit here and laugh about it, but here's the other reality. A lot of us get it wrong. A lot of us get it wrong. So I want you to reflect on that today. So let's look at these these passages real quick. We're going to start with just 12 and 13 in John chapter 12. It says, the next day, when the large crowd that had come to the festival heard that Jesus was coming to Jerusalem, they took palm branches, and went out to meet him, and they kept shouting, Hosanna! Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord, the King of Israel. Now, John doesn't give us as much detail about the specific event as far as what they're doing. If you read Matthew, you get a couple more details. If you read, some of Luke, there's some details. All the other Gospels have bits and pieces. John does tell us some important things, and here's what's the reality. If you were a Jewish person, you would immediately be like, they're doing the wrong thing, right? I'll give you an example. If it was Easter and you told someone, I'm going to put up my Christmas tree, you'd be very confused, wouldn't you? Like, what's going on here, right? Like, why is that happening? I think you got the wrong holiday. You got the wrong festival, right? It's just like when, I've seen people, we get, in our house, sometimes we get an itch around July, right? And if you're not careful and you come around the house, you might catch a Christmas tune or two. You might catch a little jingle bells. You might catch, just this reality, man. We're excited. Christmas is somewhat in the future. And though it might be 6 months away, it's 6 months closer than it was in December. And so we're excited that it's coming. But that's the wrong time to be playing some Christmas music, right? And you would know that, and you'd be like, man, it's not time for Christmas music. I don't care who you are, right? It's just like every year around October, there is a conversation in our house of whether or not I need to pull down the Christmas stuff and start decorating. And sometimes the argument I lose, and sometimes I just forget. But it shouldn't shock you if it's also Halloween and there's a Christmas tree in our house. Like, it will happen from time to time. But there is a reality, right? Like, there are certain holidays, have certain traditions, certain festivals, certain things that we do regularly. If you were a Jewish person and you understand what's happening here, you would be immediately like, this is the wrong stuff. You don't wave palm branches at Passover, right? They've got the wrong festival. You don't sing Hosanna. You don't sing Psalm 18. That's where that's from. You don't sing Psalm 18. You don't quote Zechariah. That's not what you do at Passover. Passover is not for that. It's the wrong festival. Passover is in the spring, right? Passover is about asking God for forgiveness, celebrating the Exodus, remembering what God brought us through. But it's particularly about remembering our absolute need for forgiveness. That's what it's about. It's about salvation. How God saved the Israelites before he brought them into a covenant. He did it while they were still slaves. And he brought them out of that slavery. That's the celebration. Sukkot is all about the actual marriage. It's about being at Mount Sinai and being there before God and celebrating God's greatness. And of course, it gets rolled into, like anything, if you do it long enough, it gets extra stuff, right? So part of Sukkot was also, it was the addition of the Maccabees and their revolt, right? They celebrated it late. Matter of fact, that's where where we get Hanukkah from, is related to some of that. It's a lot of details in there that we don't need to know today, but you can look it up. It's fun. But there's this idea connected to Sukkot about God being a victorious victor. He is going to be, his army is going to bring retribution. He's going to free Israel, not from slavery, but from oppression, and he's going to do it in a way where his kingdom will be established. So when they grab those palm fronds, that's what they're doing. This is not a Passover, so this is a weird thing. It shouldn't be happening. Why is this happening the way it's happening? It's confusing. And they begin chanting the wrong songs. This is not the song of Passover. This is the song of Sukkot. Why are we singing this song? It's the wrong thing, right? Why did they get it so wrong? Right? Why did they get it wrong? Part of it is because of their desire to see a certain kind of Messiah. That's what it really boils down to. They want a victorious, revengeful, judgmental Messiah. That's what they've always thought. When they read these stories, they pick up on these highlights. They're like, ooh, I like that one. Ooh, I like that one. That part I like right there. And it's like they just ignore some of the other things. They ignore it. They're like, no, that doesn't make any sense. How can a king also suffer? Why would God's not going to suffer. God's going to come and we're suffering. We want him to fix our suffering. They've got too much of Egypt still in them, right? They've still got too much of their own ideals wrapped inside of themselves. They don't want to see a suffering Savior. They want a victorious Savior. They want an earthly reign and not a heavenly one. And so as they're watching Jesus, as they hear, it says that the people started gathering because they heard what he could do, what he did with Lazarus. They're like, Messiah's here, right? Like, that's never been done. This dude's the guy. And he is going to destroy the Romans, and he's going to be the king. He's going to restart David's line. This is it. We've done it. We're about to revolt. And so they do exactly what you would expect them to do when a king would be preparing to ride into a city. They're like, he's coming to take it over. He's coming to celebrate. They got the wrong festival because they got the wrong Jesus. They got the wrong Messiah. Let's look at verse 13. In verse 13, excuse me, is it 13 up there? There you go, 14. That's what I thought. I was looking at it wrong. Verse 14, this is what Jesus does. You think he would stop them, right? Like, that's what Jesus is going, no, you guys are doing it wrong. This is what Jesus does. Jesus found a young donkey. He sat on it, just as is written, do not be afraid. Daughter Zion, look, your king is coming, sitting on a donkey's colt. What? Jesus doesn't fix this? Why does he embrace what they're doing? We know they're wrong. We know that. They're like, Jesus is coming to get rid of the Romans. He's going to be the king, right? Like, he's going to clean out the temple because he's already done it. They know he'll clean out the temple. He's going to fix this problem in our temple. He's going to fix the problem of the Romans. He's going to fix the problem of King Herod. He's going to fix everything. He's going to ride in just like a warrior would, and he's going to take over everything. And you would think Jesus would fix this, right? Like, oh, look, guys, like, you got it wrong. No, it's like he leans into it. He leans into this. That doesn't make any sense. You've got people chanting Psalm 18 out in front of them. Lord, save us. That's what Hosanna means. Lord, save us. Save us. Over and over again, they repeat this. Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord, the King of Israel. And then John notes something interesting here because he doesn't quote Psalm 18. See, they've got the wrong prophecy. See, John jumps over to Zechariah 9. Now, if you read Zechariah 9, which we will, this is what it says. Rejoice greatly, daughter Zion. Shout in triumph, daughter Jerusalem. Look, your king is coming to you. He is righteous and victorious, humble and riding on a donkey, a colt, a foal of a donkey. Now stop right there. Go back real quick. Don't cheat yet. That is what it says in here, right? Abbreviated, but that's what it says. And if we stop there, be like, yeah, that looks like he's totally agreeing with them. Jesus is embracing this kinghood, which they want, which would be completely, utterly opposite of everything he's done his entire time. From his birth to pre-birth, who he picks. What's going on here? Well, it's funny you should ask, because if you read 10, Zechariah 9:10, this is what it says. I will cut off the chariot from Ephraim, and the horse from Jerusalem, and the bow of war will be removed, and he will proclaim peace to the nations. His dominion will extend from sea to sea, from the Euphrates rivers to the ends of the earth. If you have read any part of Matthew or the Gospels, your ears should be pricked. You see some strange language here that seems super familiar. It's like, man, Jesus has said those things. I want you to pay attention. Go back to the beginning of 10 for me. These people are like, Jesus is coming to destroy the Romans. He's going to get a sword. He's going to kill everything that's a Roman. He's going to take back our land. He's going to rule it again, and we're going to go and conquer the world. And then this is what it says. I will cut off the chariot from Ephraim, and I will take the horses from Jerusalem, and I will break the bow of war. That's not war language. That's opposite of war language. He's saying he will take all of the things from the Israelites that are warlike. And then it says, I will proclaim peace to the nations. That's opposite, right? Like that's not what we've signed up for, right? That's not what those Israelites were signing up for. They're like, no, we don't want peace in the nations. We want the nations. We just want to rule the nations. That's what we're looking into. We want to be in charge of the nations. We want the nations out of here, and we want to be in charge once again. And then it says this little passage, which I'm just going to skip to the end because I don't know if you know, but it says his dominion will extend to the ends of the earth. I swear I've heard that language before, right? Like, have you guys heard that language before? Because I have. And if you read, right, if you read the end of Matthew and you read Acts 1:8, turns out that's how far Jesus said we should take the gospel. That's how far we should be striving to share the good news. See, Jesus wasn't leaning into their prophecy. He was showing them, you got the wrong one. You got the wrong prophecy. You guys are still doing Sukkot. You guys are waving palm fronds, and you're cheering Hosanna. You're reading from Psalm 118. You've got all the stuff wrong. He's like, I'm going to point to where you should be looking. Look at Zechariah 9. I didn't come for war. I came for peace. You say you want me to save you, but the way you want me to save you has parameters. See, not only do we have, not only they get the wrong Jesus, right, the wrong Messiah, but they also got the wrong idea of salvation. Right? It comes with terms for them. They want a certain kind of salvation. Again, I want to encourage you. You're not the disciples in this group, probably. We tend to be more like the rest of those Israelites. The people around you, certainly, they're not believers. They are, at best, the other Israelites. They might want salvation, but if they want salvation, it's got to be a certain way. Right? Like, it can't be, like, I want to be able to get freedom from my sin, but I also kind of want to hang out over here. I also want to dabble in a little bit from time to time. If we start getting these pieces, we start making parameters and making conditions in which we receive and accept a relationship with Jesus, you got the wrong one. It's wrong. It's not accurate. It's not the truth. It's not real. And so many times when we see disruptions in our lives, we see obstacles in our lives, when we're finding ourselves in this constant state of discontent, I find, at least for me, and for many of the other Christians that I've walked alongside with or have seen, it's often because it's me that's the problem. I'm the one who's made up in my mind the kind of relationship that I can have with Jesus, kind of expectation I'll have from Jesus, kind of salvation I'll accept from Jesus. There are no conditions that we get to make terms to God. I think it's so important we have to remember. How dare we think for a moment we can tell the creator of the universe how we're going to do something, what terms we're going to accept. The absurdity of that is breathtaking, and yet I've seen it over and over and over. I've seen it in my own heart. And we have to be aware of these things. Jesus corrects them. He does it subtly, but he corrects them. But more importantly, he's not even worried about the crowds. because it's not the crowds that he has to impact the most. This is where Jesus is unique. Jesus has a very, very firm understanding of exactly who has to be understanding of the situation, exactly what they're going to need, and that's those disciples. And he's got to teach them. Look with me at 12:16, excuse me. He says, his disciples did not understand these things at first. However, when Jesus was glorified, then they remembered that these things had been written about him, that they had done these things to him. Disciples were very confused. They're like, why is Jesus playing along with this? This is opposite of who Jesus is. Clearly, these people have the wrong idea of kingship. Clearly, these people. And we would like to think that the disciples are like, yeah, those people are idiots. But if we're honest, and if we look at this book, I'm going to tell you right now, we know that several of them were like, yeah, they had the biggest palm fronds. They were out there like waving them super hard, like as hard as they could. They're like, Hosanna, you know? They were excited about what's happening. And I love it. John's just like, yeah, they didn't understand. We didn't get it. We didn't understand what was happening. It was happening right in front of us. Jesus was trying to teach us something, and when it was happening, we didn't understand it, but when it was done with, they remembered. Man, I'm telling you right now, that has been a lot of my life. There are times over and over again, I'm going through something, and all I do most of the time, I would sit there and complain. Like, why is this happening to me? This is the worst. I hate it. I don't want to be here and deal with this anymore. Why are you doing this to me? And then I take a step back. We get 6 months worth of, 20/20 rearview mirror vision. I go, man, I'm so glad God taught me something in that. I'm so glad I got to see God do what he did there. I'm so glad of that God did that, because it prepared me for something else that I would have been just out of my element. I would not have been prepared. I would have failed miserably. I would have spun out. I couldn't have handled it. But God knew what I was going to need, so he walked me through something over here so I could be prepared for something down the road. Jesus doesn't seem to explain this to them right away. You know what I mean? And that's how Jesus worked a lot of times. Like, he didn't always explain everything. Sometimes he did, right? I don't even know if they even asked. I always wonder, did they ask about why he wanted, afterwards? Was there a conversation about the donkey later? What are you trying to prove here? I will say this, one of the biggest issues that the disciples were struggling with, that he really wants to make sure they get, if no one else gets it, they have got to get it, is that Israel had the wrong king. They had the wrong kind of king. They had this idea of what a king looked like. And so Jesus fit the mold as long as Jesus was doing miracles, right? He fit the mold when everybody was eating and he was feeding 5,000. And he fit the mold when the blind man was given back his sight, or when he was healing people, or when he was casting out demons. He fit the mold. When he doesn't fit the mold is when he tells people how sinful they are. Then all of a sudden Jesus is a problem, right? That's when it's an issue. Jesus recognizes this about his disciples. And we know this because this is what he does just a chapter later. Read with me with chapter 13. Just the beginning of it. Before the Passover festival, Jesus knew that his hour had come to depart from the world and go to the Father. And having loved his own who were in this world, he loved them to the end. Now, when it was time for supper, did I start in the right place, John? Yeah, I did. Okay, I'm making sure. It's I can't see it up there. I'm not used to looking up there. Now, when it was time for supper, the devil had already put into the heart of Judas, Simon Iscariot's son, to betray him. And Jesus knew that the Father had given everything into the hand, and that he had come from God, and that he was going back to God. So he got up from his supper, laid aside his outer clothing, took up a towel and tied it around himself. Next, he poured water into a basin and began to wash his disciples' feet and to dry them with a towel tied around them. When he came to Simon Peter, he asked him, Lord, are you going to wash my feet? Jesus answered him, what I'm doing, you don't realize now, but afterwards you will understand. You will never wash my feet, Peter said. And Jesus replied, if I don't wash your feet, you have no part of me. Simon Peter said to him, Lord, then not only my feet, but also my hands and my head. One who is bathed, Jesus told him, doesn't need to wash anything except his feet, but he is completely clean. You are clean, but not all of you. For he knew he would betray him. And this is why he said, not all of you are clean. When Jesus had washed their feet and put on his outer clothing, he reclined again and said, do you know what I've done for you? You call me teacher and Lord, and you're speaking rightly, since that is what I am. So if I, your Lord teacher, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. For I've given you an example that you should do just as I've done for you. Truly I tell you, a servant is not greater than his master, and a messenger is not greater than the one who sent him. And if you know these things, you are blessed if you do them. Jesus takes some time to instruct his disciples about the kind of king he is. And he tells them, he's like, you're not going to understand this until after all this is over. You're not. You're not going to understand this. And he does something that is profound because it is, I know a lot of people don't like feet, right? But we wear shoes for the most part. We have closed-toe shoes now, so it's wonderful. But that's not the case at this time. People wore sandals or barefoot a lot. And they were in a pretty populated area at a time of year where there's also a lot of animals. And if you've been around animals long enough, you know what animals do eventually. And there was a lot of them. They said, give or take on the numbers, somewhere between 500,000 to 1 million people would be in Jerusalem at minimum. And so that's a lot of other animals and people there. The grounds are filthy. And so are the feet. And typically, if you were, even remotely fair off or whatever, you would have somebody, a servant. Maybe it might be a child in your house, but it was never the master of the house. It wasn't going to be him. And that person would come by and wash your feet. A courteous thing, a servitude thing. Just get the junk off, right? Just make you clean a little bit. Prepare you essentially for laying down or reclining or hanging out. Whatever it is that you needed to do that afternoon. And Jesus stands and takes on this role. Takes off his outer clothes, puts the towel on. And as this is happening, as he's putting the towel on, they know what's happening. As soon as he grabs the towel, they're immediately like, oh, what? Ooh, no, why? Why is this happening? Why is this happening? What's going on? And one by one, he goes and he washes their feet. And when he gets to Peter, Peter does what I would imagine most of us would do. How can I let Jesus wash my feet? How can I let him subject himself to such filth? I should be washing his feet, right? That's the way we think. I should be honoring him. He shouldn't be honoring me. I should be glorifying him. He shouldn't be trying to glorify me. I should be lifting him up. He shouldn't be trying to lift me up. Because that's what Peter's got in his mind. He's only thinking about the position that Jesus is in instead of the act. He's missed the act. All he can think about is how lowly that position that Jesus has stepped into. That's a lowly position. That's a position for your worst slave. You punish people with washing feet. And for those of you who don't like feet, it probably is appropriate punishment. It's right next to capital death, right? They're I don't like it. I don't care. Feet are feet, whatever. But I know there's some people who don't like them. What he missed was the act. Jesus wasn't simply washing feet. Right? It wasn't just, I'm washing your feet. And he tells that. When Peter says, no, I will never let you debase yourself in such a way. Jesus tells us, I either wash your feet or you're not part of me. And then Peter does the opposite, right? He's like, well, then do all of me. Like, well, do my hands and do my head and my hands, right? There is a sweet, sweet check here, by the way. This is a hyperlink, right? Think about how we should love God, right? So I'm telling you, it's sweet. I love it. Because, you would, all your heart, right, all your soul, all your mind, right? Like, and then there's also the idea of cleanliness for the Jewish people as they go into the tabernacle and then the temple, right? They would wash their heads, hands, and feet, right? Everywhere I go, everything I do, and everything I think belongs to the Lord. So there's a sweetness there. He's not like literally like will cover me all, but like it's I don't know. I think both of them are beautiful. And then Jesus says something really interesting. He's like, someone's got a bath. They don't need to be clean. They just need their feet washed, right? You're clean, but not all of you. You're clean, but not all of you. And that's interesting because I've wrestled with that. It's like, what does that mean? Like, this post-enlightenment church person is wrestling with, like, what does it mean not to be clean? Like, aren't we fully clean? Didn't Jesus make us white as snow? Like, all my theology stuff starts coming up. And I started wondering, like, what does that mean? And I haven't landed on a place, like it doesn't, like it's not overly clear right here. But I think it goes along what we've been talking about a little bit lately. At least part of it does. Man, there's some places in our life that we just refuse to let God clean. There's some places in our hearts that we just refuse to let Jesus come in and wash. And I've been wrestling with that because I'm like, what is, like, why? Why is that? And I think I've started, as I wrestle with it, I started thinking about this reality of who Jesus is, right? Like, we talk about who Jesus is in this sense of, the Israelites think he's this king, this battle royale David being rebirthed. And there were some who did. And then you have the disciples who were like wrestling through this. And the only one here that's captured there's a response of resistance is Peter. And then it started clicking. Like, Peter's still the one who cuts a dude's ear off soon. And Peter's going to deny Jesus. But Peter does love Jesus. Like, he does some crazy stuff. He walks on the water. Like, he's the first disciple to heal after receiving the Holy Spirit. Like, God uses the mess out of some Peter. But Jesus knows Peter really well. He knows what's in Peter's heart. And he knows that there's a part of Peter that's still unclean. There's a part of Peter that he's not given up and submitted to the Lord. And that's where I kind of want to land with us today. See, the people of Israelites, the Israelite people, they seem to have gotten everything wrong in this picture. And again, this is a gross we're generalizing. Right? Not everybody got all of it wrong. Right? We know select groups of people have very specific agendas because they're people. There's no black and white here. But why did they get this wrong? Because the truth is, the real Jesus is so countercultural. He's so intuitional and so instinctual. He's counter us. I don't know if you get that yet, but Jesus is like he's the counter version of us. He goes against what we naturally feel like we need to do. And what I mean by that is this. So many people want Jesus to save us, but have those conditions, right? So many people want Jesus to give us freedom from sin, but still allow us to play with it. And we want to play around just a little bit. I don't want to give up everything. We want Jesus to lead us, and this is, if you've ever seen The Office, you'll recognize this, but only when we feel like being led, right? That's how we want, that's the Jesus that many of us want. We're okay with him, we'll let him lead us, but only when we feel like it, when we're in the mood to be led. That's not how kingship works. That's not what the word Lord indicates. It's total, unconditional surrender. we can get as we walk with the Lord, as we spend time with Jesus, especially early on, we get this place, this little thought in our head, that we can clean some of the stuff in our life up, that we can clean up and wash our own feet. I want to encourage you that that's an impossibility. You can't be clean. You can't. The only way you experience righteousness, cleanliness, is who Christ is. That's it. You can work all day. You can strive super hard. You can not swear today and be nice and have manners and be kind and patient. And sin will find you. Ooh, it will find you. And all your efforts will be for naught. You'll be wasting time. You can't escape it. You can't. And you can scrub all day long, and your feet are still going to be filthy. You have to let Jesus do it. I'm going to have the worship team come up. And my greatest fear for us is this, is that there are going to be many people in our lives who will never actually experience this, right? They'll be more than happy to come to a stage, walk down to an altar, respond to a call, pray the Lord's Prayer, ask Jesus into their heart. Jesus can be my Savior. But they don't want to make him Lord. I don't want to make him Lord. That's hard. That's way too hard. I want to read you a passage real briefly. We'll close and pray. It's from Matthew. Matthew 26. It's not on the screen, John. Don't freak out. I didn't want to put it on the screen. I just wanted to read it. And this is the Lord's Supper. And this is what it says. As they were eating, Jesus took the bread. He blessed it and broke it, and he gave it to his disciples. He said, "Take this, eat it. For this is of my body." Oh, check that. I jumped too far ahead. My bad. Had the wrong place marked. Before he did all that, this is what happens. So the disciples did as Jesus directed them, and they prepared for the Passover. And when evening came, he was reclining at the table with the 12. And while he was eating, he said, "Truly I tell you, one of you will betray me." Deeply distressed, each one of the disciples began to say to him, "Surely not I, Lord. Surely not I, Lord." And he replied, "The one who dipped his hand with me in the bowl, he will betray me. And the Son of Man will go just as it is written about him. But woe to that man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It would have been better for him if he had not been born." And Judas, his betrayer, replied, "Surely not I, Rabbi." All the other disciples said, "Lord." Why did he say Rabbi? Again, my prayer for you is this. I pray that you would be aware of the places that you have been trying to clean in your life, that you refuse to give to the Lord. I pray for those places where you've not made him Lord in your life. I'll be the first one to tell you, God does whatever God wants to do. And I've seen him work in ways that make no sense to me. And I'm thankful that I serve a God who I don't have to have those answers. But I do know this. If you don't make God the Lord in your life, the Lord, not just the Savior, but the Lord, you will never be content. You will not find rest and peace. It is not available for you because you're still trying to be your own Lord. And the picture you should imagine is Peter trying to scrub his own feet, trying to get the filth off, and it won't come off because he's so stubborn, hard-headed, zealous, wrong about who Jesus is. See, Jesus came to take your mess away. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to let him be Lord or just Rabbi? Is he your king, or is he just convenient? Let's bow our heads. Dear Heavenly Father,